Today, interviews with the artist of Ultimate Spider-Man, the writer-director of Attack the Block, the lead writer of the Mass Effect franchise, and many more. It's part 2 of New York Comic Con 2011 on Geek Crash Course. Hi, I'm here with Gabriel Hardman. So tell us about your work.
That was a really broad setup.
That's true.
I actually just finished. I was the artist on Hulk. I just finished like a 12-issue run on that. I'm doing a mini-series that my wife Karina and I are writing, and I'm drawing in Boom, the Planet of the Apes mini-series, Betrayal of the Planet of the Apes, which both of us are huge Apes fans, so it's something we pursued and we're really into. It's set about 20 years before the Charlton Heston movie, so it's very much in the world of the Apes movies. Boom has another book that an ongoing series that is like 1,000 years before the movies, and ours is like just on the cusp of that movie universe that
It's just waiting for its passion.
Yes, basically. Yes.
Hi, I'm here with Sara Pichelli.
Hi.
And I wanted to ask, what are you working on?
Now I'm the regular artist on Ultimate Spider-Man, the all new Ultimate Spider-Man.
Can you give our fans who might not know what the change has been in Ultimate Spider-Man? What's the setup
Yes,
is?
if someone doesn't know what's happening right now in the Ultimate Spider-Man world, Peter Parker said, sorry for you. And now an all new Spider-Man is coming. It's Miles Morales. He's a half Hispanic and half Afro-American guy. So let's read the comic.
I agree. It's a really good book. Thank you for talking about it.
My pleasure.
I'm here with Templesmith, and he's going to give us a quick Geek Crash Course on everything that he does. So Ben, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
I am a 33-year-old male, Australian human being. I live in New York, and I draw comic books and I write comic books. But I do the ones that people who don't know comics don't understand much. And I don't do Superman, Spider-Man, things like that. I do my own comics that I create all myself, the entire story and new things. And I did one, 30 Days of Night. It was written by a man named Steve Lyons about vampires in Alaska that got turned into a movie a few years ago. And that went well. Yes, I do mostly horror comics. So there's stories, fantasy-based horror comics with tentacles and werewolves and zombies.
What's coming out next? What's new?
More of the work I'm already producing of the same characters. I do one called Wormwood. It's about a worm in a corpse that drives it like a meat suit. It's like Doctor Who with Hellboy and the demon stuff. So. And a few other obscure things that I can't announce yet.
My name is Paul Guinan.
I'm Anina Bennett.
And I created a character called Boilerplate, and together we authored this book, Boilerplate, Mysteries Mechanical Marvel. And it's the story of a robot from about 100 years ago, and how he travels the world and meets famous people, and has a variety of adventures.
Like Teddy Roosevelt, Pancho Villa, Lawrence of Arabia, goes around the world, gets involved in all these historical events, and it's full of amazing images like this that Paul did using a model that he built from scratch and the wizardry of Photoshop. I hate to disillusion anyone who thinks that the robot actually existed, but so the whole thing is a visual narrative, so it's not exactly a comic book, but it all follows. It's a type of visual storytelling that's related to comics. We both have been working in comics for about 20 years, and so we took all of that experience and put it into just doing a different type of visual narrative. So it's about this cool robot who, goes around the world, goes MIA during World War I, and it has been optioned as a feature film by JJ Abrams. So look for it in probably a couple of years, 2 or 3 years.
Right, they just signed the screenwriter just this last week.
And our next project
is a follow-up to that, and we just have a dummy book on display here at the show called Frank Reed. And Frank Reed is similar to Boilerplate, and we took a fictional protagonist and put him into authentic settings, period history, and whatnot. But
it's a family of adventures.
A family of adventures. But the interesting thing about Frank Reed is that it's based on an actual dime novel hero from the 19th century. So he didn't exist as a real person, but he existed as a real fictional character in dime novels.
And we reprinted a bunch of the early dime novel covers, which are among the earliest science fiction stories ever published. Definitely the earliest ones published in America, and they haven't been seen print for more than 100 years. So it's an adventure story, it's a steampunk family drama, and it also is like reclaiming some lost legacy of early science fiction.
Right, that's your big geek point is that Frank Reed Library, the dime novel, was the first science fiction publication in the world, and the characters that he created, these steam robots, were the first robots in literature.
I'm here with Attack the Block writer-director Joe Cornish. Could you tell us in your own words what Attack the Block is about?
Attack the Block is about a gang of teenage kids who defend their housing block from an alien invasion. It's as simple as that.
And what are some of your influences? Being here at Comic-Con, we have comics and movies and sci-fi and all sorts of things. So what influenced Attack the Block?
Attack the Block is very much influenced by the American creature features I saw when I was growing up and loved, like Gremlins and E.T. and Critters. Gang movies I loved when I was growing up, like Rumblefish and The Outsiders and Streets of Fire and The Warriors. But it's an attempt to tell that kind of escapist genre story in a very different place and environment, which is South London. The kind of environment you usually see in quite kind of downbeat, depressing films. I wanted to take tower blocks and those inner city kids and give them an adventure like American kids had in the 80s. An adventure that allowed them to ride around on mini motos, BMXs, with samurai swords, kicking alien arse.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, I'm here with Dash Shaw. He's the creator of Bodyworld. Dash, can you give us a Geek Crash Course on Bodyworld? What's it about?
Bodyworld's about telepathy in a small town. So we get to chart the stages of telepathy through the characters that are experiencing it.
Irish way, this was rated on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know anyone was
Yeah, I read the whole thing on that. So I was wondering what the process of going from a webcomic to a printed comic was like. How did you have to reformat the story? What was that process?
Well, online it was a long scroll. So I just I kept the scroll format, and then the maps, which opened up on different tabs, open up here. So it's a little book, but then it expands into a book that into a large book.
We got some.
We're going to do an animation and another comic.
Promotional material.
The animation is I'm just finishing up the script, and we're starting that process. I was working on the animatic storyboards. It's at ruincast.com, and the comic book I just finished chapter 9 of 12.
She'd be a great interview.
So, but that one's going to come out in like 2013.
There's just so much stuff.
But I was just thinking about doing another webcomic yesterday. Thanks, man. Thank you.
I'm here with lead writer Matt Walters of Mass Effect, and I'm going to ask him a couple questions about the game. So, Matt, can you give us a quick Geek Crash Course on Mass Effect?
Yeah, so Mass Effect is a game that we're now on our third in the series. Video game originally on Xbox and PC, now we're on Xbox, PC, and PS3 as well. Mass Effect is a sci-fi game, epic sci-fi game. It takes place about 100 years, less than 300 years in the future. It follows Commander Shepard, who's a Marine from discovering these basically mass relays, is what they're called, that allow us to explore the universe at faster than light travel. And humanity has discovered, hey, we're not alone, and all the complications that always arise from that. But the twist with Mass Effect is that beyond the complications of look back at some of the, the great 80s sort of sci-fi stuff like Blade Runner and some of those things. Obviously, people always are going to draw comparisons to things like Star Wars, and you can't help it. But as far as me personally, as a writer, the great thing about Mass Effect as a universe is the stories, while they take place in the future, are based on characters who feel very real. And I think a lot of the events that happen outside of the big, epic events like, machines coming in to eat us, a lot of the stories that happen to characters can happen at any time. So I can take my inspiration from almost anything from, my own personal life or from, any fiction that I've written, whether it's books, movies, TV. And I encourage all my writers to do the same.
And there's a Mass Effect comic for our viewers that don't know. How do the comic and the game influence each other?
That's a really good question. The first comic we did, the first series, Redemption, was based on one of the characters that was fan favorite PR from the games. And we actually tied it in very closely in the sense that we told a little story with the R, which was great. It was in the universe, all the places that you recognize mostly if you played the game. But then we actually had a follow-up DLC for the game, for Mass Effect 2, that actually allowed you to follow up on the events of the comic. So they actually played back and forth, which was really interesting. Now, the second one, we had Evolution, which was more of a backstory of one of our more interesting characters, the Lucifer. And now in the third one, we're back to being in our timeline, right before the events of Mass Effect 3, and we're featuring a character, Arya Smoke, who we first saw in Mass Effect 2, who's the Queen of Omega, which is sort of this seedy space station where she is, the sort of professed leader of all these people. And now we're in an invasion. She's finding that her authority is being challenged.
Do you have any facts and tricks you can put in there just for you or any little bits of trivia that our viewers might be interested in?
One of the fun facts is I don't have an exact number right now, but recently we realized that as a writer, one of the things we do is we look at the line count and of our games, and it looks like Mass Effect 3 is actually going to be the biggest Mass Effect ever, just for one. And that's it's a side note. People worried about the effect of multiplayer, the single player campaign. The single player campaign is going to feel very good. Very good.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Very nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
That's it for our New York Comic-Con 2011 coverage, but you can see us every week on Geek Crash Course with new episodes on new topics, and you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and our website, geekcrashcourse.com. See you next year at New York Comic-Con and next week on Geek Crash Course.
You to explain what Attack the Block is. It's our show is for people.